Gang, what's up? Aaron here, Canadian Looney. How's everybody doing? We're going to jump in. Sorry, a bit of a cluster to start off here. Aaron, Canadian Looney, like, share, subscribe. We're going to cover the 2026 Conservative Convention. We've got that ready to go. No need in explaining anymore. Smash like, hit subscribe, join us in the chat room. That's it. We're going to jump right in. We're a little late getting started here, but we're ready to go.
Here, you have to be physically here to be eligible. How fair of a test is this of Pierre Poilievre's popularity and ability to move the party forward?
You know, it's a great question. To some degree, you could say, well, I mean, if people are here, they're here because they like Pierre. They're here because they want to stake in his future. They want to support him. They want to support the party. It costs a lot of money to come to this, right? It is Calgary. It's the middle of the winter. You have, of course, the competing Ontario Progressive Conservative Convention this weekend. You have, as JD mentioned, this upcoming event to celebrate Stephen Harper. People are holding their money back for that. So I think it's representative also in the sense it's a delegated convention, right? So people were sent here, hopefully, with a mandate from their riding association to go one way or another.
If I can point to the result of a survey this week in which we learned that 25% of the base supporters of the Conservative Party like what Mr. Carney is doing. That represents a challenge for Mr. Poilievre. He's got to speak to the base here, but enlarge even the tent of the Conservative Party by speaking to Conservatives who are happy with what Mark Carney is doing. So, my goodness, the challenges keep piling up for Mr. Poilievre as we speak.
And
on that, Joël Denis, part of the equation is the fact that Donald Trump, as usual, is getting involved. Talk about the challenge that represents for the Conservatives, who, as the opposition, must oppose the government without appearing obstructionist or without getting too involved. Donald Trump had an influence on the result of the last election. He's still having an influence on Canadian politics with constant threats. And Pierre Poilievre, as a leader of the official opposition, hasn't been able to pivot to adapt to the context that we face with the U.S. That's constantly threatening us. Today, Mr. Trump said that he would like to put tariffs on the aerospace industry. That's increasing Canadian nationalism. Now, Mr. Poilievre has the support of a base that supports somewhat Mr. Trump. He has to keep them satisfied, and that's another challenge while fighting for the middle ground. That's just another example of the challenges he faces.
This deep dive into the Conservative Party, who the base is, what Canadians support versus what the base of the Conservative Party supports. And when you look at it, not I, but when Abacus Data looked at Canadians who are not likely to vote Conservative, 52% still associated Pierre Poilievre with Donald Trump, a version of Donald Trump. How aware, Stephanie, is the Poilievre, the leader of the opposition in office, of this challenge? Are they doing anything to address that?
I think sometimes they land on what could they do, right? What is the answer to the question, well, you've got to stop being like Trump? Does that mean Mr. Poilievre has to stop being entirely like himself? Does it mean he has to seize on a different issue set? Does it mean that he has to come out swinging against Donald Trump at every single opportunity? Maybe, but I don't know that they've landed on a way to do that. And I think it's a bit bigger than just, the base. You know, there's the part of the base that likes Trump. I think the thing with Mr. Poilievre, and the biggest challenge for him, perhaps, he has been the same guy for 20 years. And he's proud of that. He's proud of, I've always been this way. I have always spoken my mind. I never change my opinions. And I think people like that. They respond to it. He is who he is. And so if you were to change now, then all those people who are like, hey, man, I like that fighter, what about them? And that's not a base thing as much as it is authenticity.
Well, and let me pick up on that point, though, and I'll get you to jump in after, Jotani, because we got a sense of that when we started seeing floor crossings, right? Because when Chris Nonthermont crossed the floor and then Michael Mott crossed the floor, the question was asked of Pierre Poilievre, does your leadership need to change to address those Conservatives who don't have confidence in it anymore? And his answer was clear. He didn't feel that he needed to change anything. It tells us about how that presents perhaps a challenge to build the base.
I mean, I would think one of the things I'm picking up here on the floor, right, is that if people are looking for a change from Mr. Poilievre, it is, like you said, it's a bit of a tonal change, and it's a bit like just meet the moment in your approach. Drop the rhyming, drop the slogans, like a little bit more Davos, and maybe that's the thing that it shakes off the Trump pollution.
Okay, I'm sorry to cut you off there, Stephanie, but obviously the things are now getting underway on the floor. Let's go to the main stage. Again, you are watching the 2026 Conservative National Convention, special coverage beginning this evening on Cpac.
Welcome to Calgary. Thousands of you have come from all over Canada for this important meeting of our Conservative Party family. And I am so honored to represent the host riding for this convention, Calgary Centre. Bienvenue à tous.
Welcome to everyone.
Merci de
Thank
nous
you for
rejoindre
being
à Calgary,
here in
où je suis
Calgary,
fier de
where I'm
représenter
very
un
proud
comté
to
divers,
represent
avec la communauté
a
ethnique et les
diverse
rapports que vient avec ses
riding
coutumes, et aussi un
with
centre
the
d'affaires domestique et
very diverse
international
population.
qui dirige notre économie. We're going to get a lot done here this weekend. We're going to continue to build our party so that it reflects the Canada that needs change and good government above all else. Like all these gatherings, we're going to reconnect with friends and make new friends. There'll be lots of events to gather and have great conversations. I'd love to see you at the saloon we've reserved as your convention host riding. So if you get a chance, join us tomorrow night at Palomino's downtown. I guarantee the hospitality that Calgary is known for. So everyone, work hard, have fun, and let's get things done. Travaille fort, amuse-toi bien,
Work
et fais-en
hard, have
avancer
fun,
les choses.
and let's move things
and now
forward.
I'll turn it over to the MCs for the weekend, members of Parliament, my colleagues Stephanie Cousy and Pierre-Paul Luce. There's a timing lag here. Happens all the time, I'm told.
Comment ça va?
There ça va bien. Bienvenue à Calgary.
I'm waiting for Stephanie.
Okay.
You know where she?
Are we waiting for Stephanie?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know where she is.
This is actually unscripted. This is not a show up here. This is something.
I have a text is Kuzi, Stephanie Kuzi. I'm not Stephanie.
You do the koozie part, and
Okay,
I'll do the
do the
Pierre-Paul
koozie
Luce part.
part.
You're going to do the koozie
Yes,
part.
Yo, Kuzi. Yo.
Okay. Thank you, Greg, for that warm welcome. And thank you to everyone for joining us here today. How are we doing tonight? On behalf of my fellow Calgarians, I'd like to welcome you to a beautiful welcome in Calgary this weekend. Pierre and I had the honor of hosting the 2023 convention in Quebec City, where he provided a great welcome, and I am hoping to do the same for you this year. I'm Stephanie Cousy. Well, I'm actually not. And I can say without a doubt that Calgary is proud to welcome Conservatives from every corner of our country. You can feel the enthusiasm in this room tonight, and that same energy is being felt right across Alberta and across Canada.
Stay close.
Enthusiasm for the message of hope and unity in our party is palpable. We've seen this in packed rooms across the country. I'm Poilievre, and a member for Quebec, Haute-Saint-Charles. Beautiful riding.
Like you, I'm looking forward to a great weekend ahead. J'aimerais maintenant demander. Thank you very much. Oh! Hey, Greg, how are you? Oh, no.
Can I get a Yahoo? Yahoo! Thank you, Greg.
Thank you. Welcome in Calgary, Stephanie. So, j'aimerais maintenant demander.
I'd now like to ask the chair of the convention to make a short speech.
The committee chair will now say a few words.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Calgary. What an incredible energy. There is nothing like being in a room full of your fellow Conservatives, excited to undertake a weekend of networking, engagement, policy and constitution discussion, and some great parties. As your convention chair, I can tell you we have worked incredibly hard to bring you the best CPC convention yet. Thank you. In that vein, I would like to thank our entire convention committee for their hard work in making this possible. Please join me in giving each of them a round of applause. I will start with Natalie Claremont from Quebec, Colette Stang from Saskatchewan, Judy Manning from Newfoundland and Labrador, Jill Ford from the Yukon, and last but certainly not least, your local Alberta councillors, Amber Ruddy and Heather Feldbush from Alberta. Woo! This is going to be a convention about solutions, because that is what we as Conservatives do. We fight to make Canada stronger and to make it work for all Canadians. We all know, after 10 years of Liberal government for the insiders, life has become harder for Canadians. That is why we all, as Conservatives, will not stop fighting. We're going to fight for a more affordable Canada. We are going to fight for safer communities. We're going to fight for a Canada that produces more and empowers our country to stand in a position of strength yet again. Thank you. We will never give up on the Canadian dream, and I know that united, we will form government and we will bring back a prosperous Canada for all. Thank you so much for attending and contributing to this very important process for our party. Please do not hesitate to pull myself or any of these lovely ladies aside should you have any questions over the next few days. We look forward to seeing you all, and let's have a great convention and time in Calgary. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Christina. What a room. What a room. We last gathered together for a convention 28 months and 19 days ago in Quebec City. Who's counting? Our party has made remarkable headway. Here's a proof point of just how energized the Conservative movement in Canada is. This is the largest Conservative Party convention in Canadian history. And this is a growing party, winning the trust of more than 8 million Canadians in the last election. Conservatives are engaged, we are excited, and we are ready to work hard to build an even larger coalition of voters who believe in our message of safe communities, affordable homes, and a strong Canada. Under Pierre's leadership, we saw Canadians who had never taken a look at the Conservative Party before line up for hours to hear his message of hope. We won the most votes in our party's history, adding 2.5 million votes and 25 new seats. We did it by listening to Canadians and connecting with them. But we still have more to do. And we as Conservatives know it. We are the party of results, not of rhetoric. We are ready to deliver. I look forward to working with all of you over this weekend to continue strengthening this movement and demonstrate to the Canadian people that only the Conservative Party is ready to lead a stronger, safer, and more affordable Canada. Please welcome back your Masters of Ceremony for this evening, Stephanie Kuzy and Pierre Paulhus.
Well, Pierre, I tell you, a lady goes to touch up her makeup and a lot of things happen. Now I can give you all a proper welcome. Where are my delegates from British Columbia? Where are my delegates from the North? Where are my delegates from the prairies, Manitoba, Saskatchewan? Saskatchewan? Where are my delegates from Alberta? Where are my delegates from Ontario? That is a good group, Pierre. Où sont mes délégats de Quebec?
Quebec delegates, where are you?
I love it. Where are my delegates from the Maritimes, Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick? Make some noise. And finally, where are my delegates from Newfoundland and Labrador? Amazing. I'm Stephanie Kuzy, the Member of Parliament for Calgary-Minnepoor, and it is my honor to welcome you to my hometown of Calgary.
Merci, Stéphanie.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Christina, Stephen.
Friends, tonight is about more than speeches. It's about coming together to highlight the message of hope that the Conservative Party and Pierre Poilievre have been championing. Canadians need that hope, faced with an affordability crisis, rising crime, a broken immigration system, and facing an unpredictable world. They need the hope that we represent a government that's serious about tackling affordability, about cracking down on criminals, fixing our broken immigration system, and protecting this country. Canadians are looking for serious leadership and real tangible solutions, and we provide it. Chers amis, ce soir il s'agit de bien.
Friends, it's much more than speeches tonight. It's about coming together to show that the Conservatives hold a message of hope. Canadians need that hope as they face an affordability crisis, an increase in crime, and an uncertain world. They need the hope that we embody, a government determined to deal with crime, cost of living, to repair a broken immigration system, and to protect the country. Canadians are looking for serious leadership and real solutions, and we will offer those solutions.
And that message of hope and the strength of our values resonated with Canadians. But we aren't done yet. We still need to connect with Canadians and show them exactly how a responsible, thoughtful message of hope speaks to them. This weekend, we'll show Canadians just how ready we are to get to government, back on track after 10 years of Liberal mismanagement. Over the next series of speakers, you'll hear from Conservatives from across the country who embody these principles in their own ways. They come from different regions, different backgrounds, and different generations, but they are united by the shared belief that Canada works best when government is accountable, communities are strong, and Canadians are free to shape their own futures. It is now my pleasure to invite a group of speakers who will speak to those themes and to the future we are building together. J'ai maintenant le plaisir d'inviter.
Now the pleasure to invite a group of speakers who will look at the theme of the future that we're building together.
Welcome, Member of Parliament, Carol Lancy.
The Conservative Party has a message that must be heard in every riding in Canada. Places that were written off by the experts and pundits just a decade ago are now represented by Conservative members of Parliament, fighting for them and fighting to restore Canada's promise. The party's message of hope and optimism under Pierre Poilievre resonated with Canadians who have been taken for granted by the Liberal government for far too long. Just 10 years later, more than half of all my voters in my riding embraced Pierre's message of hope and marked their ballot for me and the Conservative Party. Now, trust me, it involved a whole lot of meeting people where they are. It meant going to every nook and cranny in the riding and showing them, through those belly-to-belly conversations at the doorsteps, the message of our leader and our party, that reflected their values and their vision for this country.
Sorry, gang, I don't know. It froze up. What is happening here? Of course, they're going to drop the signal for the Conservative convention. What a ridiculous thing. Oh, no. Yeah, so they're just frozen up. Like, I'll leave the screen on. It's displaying this. So I don't know what's going to happen here. Sorry, gang, there's really nothing I can do. What will we do? Oh, no.
Working groups.
Frustrating. Sorry, crowd. Yeah, I know it's a letdown. Sorry, everybody. I can't see the chat right now.
Is in Calgary, just south of downtown.
Let's figure this out quickly. Sorry, everybody.
And you are right now taking a look at BMO Centre in Calgary, just south of the downtown core, more precisely in Stampede Park, and more importantly for tonight and the next 2 days, the site of the...
So that's toast. Well. Sorry, guys, I'm struggling. I'm trying to figure out how to fix this or get some signal, because that'll be a disappointment. Damn. Yeah. Oh, man. Well, I apologize, everybody. My name's Aaron. This is Canadian Looney. Cpac got us. Cpac nailed us. Yeah. My goodness. Stick with me. Give me another minute, then dump. I'll understand.
Our team
Here we go.
grew
We
from 20 or 30 in 2021 to almost 150 in 2025. We had so much support from associations in other parts of the country. We united across the country, a united effort to make our vision a reality. And those places were taken for granted by the Liberal Party, a party that is so far away from where people are under an out-of-touch Prime Minister. And there are plenty more seats that saw that same surge of interest and excitement. And there's still lots more room to grow. because this story is the same right across the country. Canadians have struggled under the yoke of liberal policies that favor their insider friends and leave behind everyday Canadians. Groceries have skyrocketed in every single corner of this country. Young people can't afford housing. The Liberals pretend like it's not true. They insist to Canadians that things are going well, and they try to convince Conservatives to turn on each other. But Conservatives know better, and we understand the strength of our message and the important message that Pierre represents. Canadians don't have to live like this. We can live in a country where if you put in the hard work, you can get ahead. And we still have more to do because we need to win for those Canadians who are so desperate for that optimistic vision of Canada. And that means we need to bring that message to every Canadian in every riding right across this country, that it doesn't need to be this way. And just as we did in Long Range Mountains, we'll find the ears and the hearts of Canadians who are desperate for Pierre's message of optimism and hope. Newfoundlanders and Labradorians remember Premier Brian Peckford's words that now seem so relevant to the rest of the country. Someday the sun will shine again and the have-nots will be no more. And as the very first Conservative woman ever elected in Newfoundland and Labrador, I know that hope can finally become a reality, and together we will build the House of Opportunity. There is no riding we won't be contesting. There is nowhere that we won't go to work to restore Canada's promise under Pierre Poilievre. Now please welcome my friend and colleague, MP Luc Berthold.
Bonsoir tout le monde.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
I'm Luc Berthold. Je suis Luc Berthold.
I'm Luc Berthold, a member for the magnificent region of Chaudière-Appalaches in Quebec.
Beautiful Chaudière-Appalaches region in Quebec. Bonsoir, Calgary.
Good evening, Calgary. I'm very, very happy to be with you this evening because we have a great weekend ahead of us. If there's one thing that I know as a member for Chaudière-Appalaches is that our small and medium businesses are the engine of the regions in Quebec and Canada. Chaudière-Appalaches is a region of entrepreneurs. We have Beauce, we have the centre of Quebec, we have regions with entrepreneurs who work very hard, with creative business people who never give up. And believe me, I've had the opportunity to see this on a daily basis in my riding. It's a real starter place where small businesses get a start, and that's the spirit of Canada. Day in, day out, our business leaders get involved across the country to create jobs, well-paying jobs. As a Conservative, we must applaud and recognize their efforts.
Every day, entrepreneurs from all around the country are helping to build our communities and create high-paying jobs for hard-working people. And we, as Conservatives, celebrate them as champions in their communities.
Without these businesses, all regions of the country would feel the impact. Did you know that small and medium businesses employ more than half of all private sector workers in Canada? Their contribution to our economy is huge. But But there's always a but. Since the Liberals have been in office,
are in powers, it's more difficult for them. C'est plus difficile pour nos entrepreneurs.
it's been more difficult for our businesses. I can tell you one thing here tonight. There's not a week goes by when businesses in my riding don't come to talk to me about how many bureaucratic barriers there are. I think that we should call a spade here.
He's on the side of big business. Il est du côté des grandes entreprises.
He's on the side of big business. He's not on ordinary people's side, small and medium businesses working hard to be competitive, while big business have the right to privileges from bureaucracy. Small businesses and all their ridings are left behind. But I'd like to tell you one thing now. Pierre Poilievre is enough of the Liberal-led system that favours big businesses and lobbyists. During the last campaign, he crisscrossed the country to change things. He crossed the country to make sure that no lobbyists would allow companies to compete, but really their skills.
To hear the stories of those hard-working entrepreneurs. If there is one thing I know, it's that entrepreneurs know that Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives won't stop fighting for them. Je sais que les entrepreneurs
I know that businesses support us. We saw this during the last election. Businesses in my riding know that Pierre Poilievre will cut taxes, will reduce red tape, will reduce the size of the public service to allow our businesses to do more. Pierre Poilievre also made several concrete suggestions to help businesses, allow specialized workers to deduct their travel costs. He also suggested to reduce capital gains taxes on our businesses if they reinvest here at home in Canada. It's been far too long now that Canada hasn't had a Prime Minister that really understands the realities facing our businesses. We know just how important it is in Quebec's regions and in Canada's regions as well. This is why we need Pierre Poilievre as our future Prime Minister of the country.
Now, please welcome my colleague, MP Arpen Kenna.
Thank you, Luke. Who's ready for a great convention? We're in Calgary, it's January, but it's not cold, so I want to do that one more time. Who's ready for a great convention? There we go. What incredible energy. It feels so good to be back in Calgary, surrounded by Conservatives from coast to coast to coast. Friends, we are here for one simple reason, because we care. We care about our Conservative movement. We care about this country. We care about Canadians. And we believe Canada can do better. That's right. Because right now, Canadians from every walk of life have been hit hard by this Liberal government. A government that works for the insiders, the elites, the rich, while everyone else pays the price. A government that has broken Canada's promise, made life harder and less affordable for people right across our country. Just look at young Canadians. Under the Liberals, young people can't afford homes, and that dream of home ownership is sadly dying. Half of first-time buyers say owning a home in the next 5 years is simply out of reach. Half of millennials and 2/3 of Gen Z are putting off starting families, not by choice, but because they can't afford a place to live. And instead of opening doors for the next generation, Carney and the Liberals keep slamming them shut. At the same time, our young people can't find jobs thanks to the increase of low-skilled temporary foreign workers in our country. And despite doing everything right, they do everything right, the dreams of Canadian youth remain out of reach. But Pierre and Conservatives are offering a different vision, a message of hope, a message of opportunity, a message that says Canada should work for those who work hard in our country. And that's right. And Pierre's message to make housing affordable and to put young Canadians back to work, it broke through. We saw it at the doors. We saw it at the massive crowds of young people at rallies right across our country. And we saw it where it matters the most, the ballot box. And it wasn't just young Canadians. Canadians from every background, every faith, every neighborhood, they saw themselves reflected in Pierre's message of hope and optimism. I saw it firsthand. They're fed up with crime taking over their streets, carjackings, extortions, home invasions, broad daylight shootings. They know safe communities mean locking up repeat violent offenders and putting victims first. They're fed up with grocery bills exploding while liberal taxes and inflation eat away at their paychecks. But they know Pierre has a plan to make life more affordable and ensure Canadians can live once again in safe neighborhoods. And they respect him. And they respect something deeper about him. That Pierre believes in a united Canadian identity. That he believes every single person deserves the chance to reach their God-given potential. And most of all, they trust him. He doesn't say one thing behind one door and a different thing behind another. He tells the truth. He means it, and he stands by it, even when it's hard. And that's why they trusted him with their votes across the country last year. Conservatives saw massive electoral gains right across this country. In Brampton, we surged by more than 16% across the city, knocking off a Liberal minister and coming within a hair of winning 5 more seats. And we saw the same momentum. We saw the same momentum in Surrey, in York Region, and Richmond. Our vote share went up 13%, winning key ridings. And that didn't happen by accident. It happened because Pierre showed up. He listened and he connected. Friends, we've made historic progress. The strongest results our party has ever seen in these communities. Voters put their trust in Pierre because they know he has their back. But let me be clear, we're not done. Not even close. We need to work hard together to share Pierre's vision for Canada, where homes are affordable, streets are safe, and hard work truly pays. A Canada that is united, thriving, and full of opportunity, where every sacrifice means something. Every voice is heard, and the next generation has a fair shot at a brighter future. Because, friends, together, as Conservatives, and as Canadians, with Pierre Poilievre as our leader, the best is yet to come. Friends, have an amazing convention, and now I'll ask my good friend, you all know him, please welcome MP EhrenEmm.
All right, let's go. EhrenEmm is one of my favorites. Smash the like, hit subscribe.
All right. Thank you, Arpan, and thank you, Calgary. It is great to be here all the way from the newly Conservative-held riding of North Island Powell River. You know, people often ask me how we won these new ridings, how we made such historic gains in places like Hamilton and Windsor and Nanaimo. And from knocking on thousands of doors, I can tell you with some confidence that it's because today's Conservative Party is the party of Canadian workers, the party of people who build things, who get up early, who work hard, and who get things done, the party of tradespeople, of resource workers, and of those laying the groundwork for the future of Canada's prosperity and success. And for inspiration on building this, the next chapter of Canada's story, we need only look back to our proud and storied past. It was under this party, led by the father of Confederation, the great Sir John A. Macdonald, that the vision of this new nation was truly born. And that vision was from the Atlantic to the Pacific, through the Rockies, across the prairies, and over the Canadian Shield, brought together in 1867 and tied together for over 150 years with a ribbon of steel. A national railway that forms the spine of modern Canada and that runs through the very heart of right here in downtown Calgary to this very day. And a railway that we must always remember that the Liberals would have had us abandon to build feeder lines of dependency to the United States. Let us not forget that today, just as in 1867, it is the Conservative Party that is and always will be the defender of Canadian sovereignty, our national interest, and Canadian identity, and we will take no lectures from Liberals on what it means to be proud to be Canadian. And we will take no lectures, especially from those who only spontaneously rediscovered their patriotism and love for Canada just 15 months ago, right? Who spent the last 10 years deriding this country, tearing down statues, erasing our history, stigmatizing the flying of our national flag. These are the same people, remember, who wanted to cancel Canada Day, who took Terry Fox and Vimy Ridge out of our passport, and now they are claiming to be the true defenders of Canadian sovereignty and identity? I don't think so. Because instead of putting Canada first over the past 10 years, they have been putting their ideology first. And we've seen the consequences. Pipelines killed, mills closed, Canadian resources left in the ground, fishermen chased out of areas that they fished sustainably for more than 100 years. These are Canadian workers who have had their livelihoods, their careers, their ability to put food on the table to feed their families sacrificed by the Liberals and the NDP on the altar of their extreme ideology. You know, just last week, I spoke with some of these workers at the recently closed Atlee chip plant just outside Port McNeill in my riding, the latest Canadians to lose their jobs thanks to Liberal and NDP policies. They were frustrated, they were angry, and I am too. For too long, these workers have been told their views, their jobs, their livelihoods don't matter, that they need to transition, to move on to something else, find a different job, while the government focuses on its quote-unquote real priorities, like renaming cities, streets, and towns, like handing out free drugs and keeping our oil in the ground. But it doesn't have to be this way. With Conservative leadership, Canada can realize its true potential just as John A. envisioned all those years ago. And you know the great thing is? You know what the great thing is for so much of this? Is that we don't need the government to step up in any particular way. We just need the government to get out of the way and give this country back to those who built it, the people. These are the people who get up every day, go to work, and do what needs to be done, who come home with sweat on their brow and dirt on their hands, who choose their careers not because they are easy, but because they are hard. I know Canadians are ready to do their part to build the next chapter of Canada's story, and I can tell you, as a Conservative MP, we are ready to do our part too. Now, some of you may have heard, especially those from British Columbia, that just over a month ago, I considered stepping down as a Member of Parliament and joining the race to become the next leader of the BC Conservative Party and Premier of British Columbia. And to decline that opportunity was one of the most difficult decisions of my life. But after much reflection, I decided that the best place for me today is standing shoulder to shoulder with the next Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Poilievre, and to be a loud voice in Ottawa and to help Pierre on his nation-building mission. And that nation-building mission starts with getting government out of the way. It starts with building pipelines, mines, homes, and so much more to unleash the power of Canadian resources, Canadian ingenuity, and most importantly, the Canadian people to realize Canada's true potential, strong, sovereign, secure, and proud, and the wealthiest, most prosperous nation in the entire world. Thank you, Calgary. Thank you for having me. And I'd now like to invite my fantastic and incredible colleague, Melissa Lanceman, out on stage. Thank you, Calgary.
I hope Larry Brock gets up there.
Thank you. What's up, Calgary? Thank you, thank you, thank you for the warm welcome. I want to make sure to give an especially big props to my friends Carol and Arpan and Luke and EhrenEmm, who you just heard from. Let's give them a big hand here tonight. I am so excited to be here with all of you right here in Calgary for what promises to be an amazing weekend. We are here tonight at such a pivotal time for our party and for our Conservative movement. Tonight is a chance to celebrate just how far we've come as a team and the coalition that we've built, the largest in more than 3 decades. I think you all know the guy who gets the credit for putting that all together. His name is Pierre. I also think that every person in this room knows exactly what I know, how hard he worked, his strategic vision, the outreach, the communication chops that have outright revolutionized Canadian politics. Under his leadership, we've connected with an unprecedented number of Canadians from coast to coast to coast. People who just a few years ago would have never dreamed of voting Conservative. And it should come as no surprise to us in the face of this success that we face a concerted and deliberate campaign from the Liberal government, from special interest groups, and from the chattering classes to divide us. They're trying to divide us because they know that when Conservatives spend time fighting each other, Conservatives don't spend time fighting the harmful Liberal policies that only help their well-connected friends. And it's been 10 years of these harmful Liberal policies. These Liberal policies that have left everyone else out to dry. And let me just say this to everybody watching and everybody trying to divide us. We are united. Our movement is united, and our party is united. We are united on behalf of the hardworking families who just want to afford groceries, who just want to afford a home, who want to afford the necessities of everyday life. Under this Liberal government, even a full-time job doesn't protect you from having to line up in a food bank in this country. We are united on behalf of the law-abiding Canadians from every walk of life who have been abandoned by a government who would rather fight for the rights of repeat criminal offenders instead of the rights of innocent victims. And we are united on behalf of the next generation who have sacrificed their jobs, their hope, and their futures, only to be told by the Prime Minister that they need to sacrifice more. But more than anything, we are united for Canada, a country where hard work gets you ahead, where tomorrow is better than today, and where someone with the last name Lanceman can go from the front seat of a taxi to the front row of Parliament Hill in one generation. And we will never be divided by the elites and the pundits and the liberal hacks who try to sow discord amongst us. We will not be distracted by a government that desperately wants to hide its decade-long record of failure, because we know that our beliefs are strong and our movement is even stronger. We know that we have the right solutions for Canada and for all Canadians. And so I'm confident that Pierre, as our leader, we will come out this weekend even stronger, even more united, showing Canadians that we're ready to govern and we are ready to restore the promise of Canada. It is time for hope. It is time for change. And it starts this weekend by standing with Pierre and uniting for Canada. So I'll remind you to vote yes for an affordable Canada, yes for affordable homes, yes for affordable food on the table, and yes to Pierre as our leader. Pace yourselves and have a great time at this convention. I'm going to invite back to two amazing MCs that you're going to see all weekend, Stephanie and PPH, that's what we call them, from backstage to tell you about what we're going to do tomorrow and give you the lay of the land. Thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the convention.
Merci à Carole, Luc.
Thank you to all of you. This evening we see the start of a stimulating and fantastic weekend. We'll have important discussions on public policy, and we will come together as a united Conservative team determined to win for Canadians.
Aaron and Melissa. Tonight marks the beginning of what will be an exciting and important weekend. Over the next 2 days, we'll take part in important policy on winning for Canadians.
All right, folks, it's time for a little housekeeping before we send you off to enjoy the evening. You'll want to be back in this room at 8:15 a.m. tomorrow morning to hear from the chair of the Conservative Fund, Rob Staley, on the state of the party's finances. Spoiler alert, it's all good news. At 9 a.m., you can attend the Constitution breakout session right here in the Champion Ballroom. The first policy breakout will take place next door in the Percheron Ballroom. After lunch, we have more policy breakout sessions, and one in this room and the other in the Percheron Ballroom. Après le dîner, nous aurons d'autres séances.
After lunch, we'll have another discussion on policy, one in this room and another in the Percheron Ballroom.
Room at 6:15 p.m. We will be hearing from our leader, Pierre Poilievre, at 6:30 p.m., so don't be late. If ever you've been to one of his events, you know it's going to get pretty crowded in here. Thank you all and have a great night here in Calgary. Les portes ouvrent pour cette salle à 18h15.
The doors open at 6:15, and Pierre Poilievre will speak at 6:30. Please don't be late. If you've ever been to one of his events, you know that it's likely the room will fill up quickly. Thank you very much, and have a great evening. Great. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And there you have it, the first night of the 2026 Conservative National Convention wrapping.
So just a quick break. We're going to listen to some Again, these guys are legacy media. They're just as bad as CBC and CTV, the people from Cpac. Not a fan at all. Anyhow, my name's Aaron. This is Canadian Looney. I'm about to hit 40,000 subs, and I'd appreciate if you'd help me get there. Anyways, let's listen to what these hacks have to say.
Up here in Calgary, you heard there the two MCs throughout this next 3 days, Stephanie Kuzi, as well as PPH was referred to, as he was referred to by Melissa Landsman, Pierre Paulus. Again, the MCs for this evening and for the next couple of days. You're watching special coverage as we launch it here on Cpac. I'm Michael Srapia. Thank you for being here.
Bien sûr, maintenant l'attention se tourne à demain.
And now all eyes are on tomorrow and the leader's speech. Joël Denis, I'd like to ask you the following question. How will Mr. Pierre Poilievre come out tomorrow? Well, he has to speak to his base. He has to speak to them to win the leadership review comfortably. We know that Mr. Poilievre loves history, and if he wants to breathe new life into his position as opposition leader, he has to take inspiration from politicians like John A. Macdonald and the policies of John A. Macdonald. One policy, one country, one flag, for example, because the current context means that the party that has the most success nationally is the party that is able to bring people together around nationalism, because we're facing down a threat from the US, and Mr. Pierre Poilievre was finding it difficult to find a role there. The Liberals have always rallied around the flag. If Mr. Pierre Poilievre wants to plead for a second chance from voters, he needs to make a nationalistic speech to counter Donald Trump's threat.
What we just heard from Joël Denis, you agree with that?
I'm thinking about how, remember early days, Mr. Poilievre, everything's Canada was broken, Canada was broken, Canada was broken, and one of the strengths that the Liberals maintained for themselves at that time was saying, hey, wait a second, this is a good country, we're good people, we have good things. It's that message of hope that we know Mr. Poilievre has been trying to emphasize a little bit more, but I think in the speakers we just had now, you had an absolute preview of the arc of the address that Mr. Poilievre is going to give before the leadership, right? It's going to be to talk about their strengths, picking up ridings like the one in Newfoundland and Labrador that we heard from the MP there. You're going to hear about his outreach to communities that are affected by specific criminal justice issues. We heard that from Arpan Canna. And then you're going to get to Aaron Gunn, where Aaron Gunn was talking about that arc of history, and he was talking about workers and uniting the country, rallying around the flag. I absolutely agree with JD that nationalism is the order of the day right now. Think of the Prime Minister sitting with all of the premiers. Yep. Mm-hmm. And Canadians, I think both the base of the party, shall we say, and Canadians writ large need to be able to mentally replace the image of Mr. Carney with Mr. Poilievre at that table of the premiers. And they can only do that if Mr. Poilievre can speak to that and see how, emphasize where he thinks Canada is going. Not where it's been, necessarily, but where he thinks it's going.
Yeah, and to that, of course, Donald Trump raises his voice again today, once again, threatening new tariffs against industries in this country, in particular Bombardier and planes. So that is this specter for the Conservatives, because every time Donald Trump was raised through the campaign, that helped Mark Carney, not Pierre Poilievre, and the Conservative campaign. Listen, again, this is night one. I just want to quickly go down the row, including with my co-host Mark on the day. What are you watching out for? What do you think people should be focused on tomorrow and the days ahead?
Moi, je pense certainement demain, ce qui m'intéresse, c'est ce que Joël Denis.
I'm interested in seeing tomorrow, and both of my colleagues were speaking about this. Mr. Poilievre's tone, Abacus Data's poll shows that 14% of Conservatives think that are accessible to Conservatives. We expect him to put a focus on the issues, more cooperation. I'm looking to see whether this is reflected in his speech, because you know that his base loves when he takes a hard line, but he has to reach out to both audiences. That's what I'm keeping an eye on.
For people to necessarily pick up on now, I want to see how the delegates here respond to what he says tomorrow. Yeah. Right? What is it? Does it get them in the feels, to borrow an expression? I don't find the energy here particularly over the top, right? I know that the party is trying very hard to make this almost a revival, which is to say, hey, we made it through. Like, we're not destroyed. Everything is not lost. Let's get together. I'm not picking up that energy right now. It seems a bit I'm not sure, and we'll see how that goes after the speech, and if the speech is the rallying thing for both for the party, but if he can break through and reach Canadians also.
Okay, Joel Denis, pour vous?
Moi, je vais surveiller si monsieur...
I'll be watching to see whether Mr. Poilievre talks about Canadian unity. Today, Alberta is the focus of Mr. Trump. Calling on Canadian nationalism. Mr. Trump lost 2 members before Christmas. Could he lose others? So as to call for unity for the country, but also within his own party. Ms. Landsman mentioned this. She said that the Liberals are trying to put out the idea that Conservatives could lose more MPs. They have to show that they're united, and he has to speak to that national unity and party unity.
Actually also watching out for, purely logistical, because they've not actually laid out a timeline as to when we're going to know the results of the vote tomorrow evening. The speech is late, Calgary time. It's late, certainly, as you go east of Calgary. So it could be in the early morning hours that the results are released. Will that be through paper release, through email? I don't know. But it certainly does set up Saturday and the kinds of discussions we're going to have about Pierre Poilievre's ability to navigate. And as you were alluding to earlier, Joel Denis, where do we go come Monday? Right, so I think all of that is on to be watching for. Listen, Steph Levitz from the Globe and Mail, Joel Denis Bellevance from La Presse, thank you. We're going to bug you for the next few days, so don't go too far. But to people at home, we should note out as Marc-André and I are co-hosting the coverage here in Calgary of the Conservative National Convention. Back in Ottawa today was a First Ministers meeting, which we again alluded to in our discussion here. The topic of the economy, both here at home and abroad, of course, making its way around that table, because still is a very big challenge, again, when you hear Donald Trump. But there were also other comments made by premiers making news today into all of that. Cpac Remy Autier is covering the First Ministers meeting. Remy.
Michael, at the meeting, sometimes it can become conflictual, sometimes it can be dissent, differences between
Thank you very much, Kennedy Ken. That's amazing. Appreciate it.
between the provinces and the federal government, or between the provinces, but this isn't the impression we got today. The message that was sent, that was hammered home by Mr. Carney, was something we heard a lot about over the last year. Team Canada approach. There were no major announcements. There was no commitment for additional transfers to the provinces, for example. There was commitments that are consistent with what we've seen from Mr. Mark Carney, especially on domestic trade, trade barriers that the provinces and the government are trying to break down. Work has been done, but there's still a lot to be done, especially in terms of worker mobility. That's why the various trade ministers will be meeting in March, we were told. There's also the review of COSMA, and the provinces want to have their say. They want to be around the table so that nothing's imposed upon them, and that's the context behind Mr. Carney's commitment to hold monthly meetings to keep keep provinces and territories informed of progress. Let's listen to Mr. Carney.
This meeting and our shared missions is nation-building infrastructure. We've already referred 11 projects to the Major Projects Office since our first meeting in Saskatoon.
I'm sorry, gang. I didn't expect to see Carney at the convention of the Conservatives. What an obnoxious show. I'm telling you, man, these Cpac losers are just as bad as CTV, CBC. At least they speak English. Cpac always does the French shit. It's frustrating.
Less than a year ago. That's over $116 billion of potential new investments in every region of the country. Transformative projects from Ksi Lisims LNG, Darlington, new nuclear, Sisson Mine in New Brunswick.
Beyond the message of unity that we heard, there are two major issues that divide the country which surfaced again, especially through journalist questions. First of all, separatist movements in Alberta and in Quebec. In Alberta, this movement has gathered pace over the past year, and Dennis Smith hasn't condemned it. She's even facilitated its task by relaxing the rules surrounding referenda, but she's never come out to support the movement without ever condemning it either. We learned in the media that representatives of the sovereignist movement in Alberta met with members of the Trump administration to talk about a loan of several $billion if the province separated from Canada. There were questions on what that meant. David Eby talked about treason by the members of the separatist movement, and Danielle Smith didn't condemn the movement. She said it represents more than 1 million Albertans, but she did say that she would send a clear message to the Americans through her envoys in Washington, asking them to respect.
So I'm going to do something pretty strange, gang. I've got a pretty good audience here, but we're not getting what we signed up to watch. This is what Cpac does. This is what the legacy media, the bullshit CBC, CTV, almost all the newspapers and radio stations. There's a couple out there, but they're independent. They aren't funded by the government. Oh my God. That was fun to watch some of our favorites giving great speeches, and it was a good time, a bit of a surprise for a Thursday evening. Anyhow, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. We are going to cut this off. My name's Aaron, Canadian Looney. Like, share, subscribe. Maybe I hit 40,000 subscribers during this show. Fingers crossed. Help a brother out. I work really hard at this stuff. I spend, 84 hours a week watching and making videos about Canadian federal politics. I think it's important. Anyhow, I appreciate everybody that tuned in this evening. Rhonda and Kirk, that's awesome that you were able to drop in. Great to see some familiar faces as well. Awesome to see a lot of new faces. That's it, gang. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We're going to wrap it up right now. We're back tomorrow with a live show in the afternoon. Tomorrow we'll be covering the committee all day. I think that's the plan. Anyhow, gang, Aaron, Canadian Looney, we're out for now. Take care. That's it. Like, share, subscribe. Come and join us tomorrow for the rest of convention. That is it. Thanks a lot, gang. We're out. Oh, well, we can hit that one more time. Yeah.